We're gonna see if this works. I don't know. It seems that Restream, which is the service that puts out our feed to Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, etc., um, has messed up or is slowing down. So we will see what happens this time. Um, hopefully, hopefully we'll be good to go, and hopefully everybody can hear us. Um, we'll see. We'll see. We're crossing our fingers this time.
This fucking day, man.
It's
Okay,
actually been one of our biggest live
it's been
problems that we've had since we first did this, like in January.
Can everybody can everybody hear us okay? I'm afraid to ask. And then when I was trying to disconnect and reconnect, my computer was trying to catch up, so all the notification badges were dropping down on the top right, where the open tabs and closed tabs, and I'm like, stop. Oh my god, it was so
idea.
frustrating. So I don't know how much was actually heard, and I'm like,
Keith, what did you hear? You are one reliable that is commenting that we can see and messaging Matt. Because we were able to hear each other perfectly fine.
Our
so
audio
we
and video
don't
look totally fine. Like normally if it's frozen for one of us, it'll still usually look fine for y'all, and we just kind of work with it. But if it's working for both of us, then it's usually a good sign that you guys are okay. This was not okay. This was a big freaking fail. This is how this weekend has gone. It's been excellent. I think Cody and I have just been failing left and right all weekend.
Like, I guess so.
I don't see us recording tomorrow. Do you want to move to recording to Tuesday or Wednesday so we can breathe?
Take a breather.
Well, I have to have a drug test. I think I have to go get my results for my TB test. I have to get everything sent back to school. And I also want to make sure I have 3 things picked out for Crime Week. Oh my fucking god, of course. I'm not repeating it. I don't have the energy. I'm just not. Sorry. I'll record it this week with Cody, and that'll be our deep dive.
Everybody, you'll get to learn more about Matt's thing in June. In June, you'll be able to find out more about Matt's.
Right. That'll be part of Crime Week. Another,
Well, for the story that everybody missed, it's been not the smoothest of weekends. Hopefully, the week ahead will be a lot smoother.
Well, I would like to do 3 segments for Crime Week. So the way Crime Week moving forward is going to go is, in order for us to just kind of keep it consistent and for poor Cody to not have to do 50,000 hours on camera along with his other projects, because I only do this and then I help Clint with his projects. Cody does a lot more outside of podcasting. He does so much social media work. So I will do the crime episodes. Cody will be present. He'll still be producing it. He'll still be in my ear, and he'll still be joining as needed, or if there's something he wants to talk about. I'm not just taking it over. It's just a lot of times there's not really enough information for 2 people to really go through it. And I'm kind of neurotic anyway. And the questions I think of and want to ask are things that I think it's best for me to just talk to a wall sometimes and not put Cody through it. Because poor Cody will be like, well, I wonder if I'm like, oh, I can answer that. And then yeah. So going forward, we'll probably be releasing 2 or 3 segments a week. I think it would be neat to do the Friday live, that week's the crime week, whichever week it falls on, kind of the live, kind of a mix of something crime related. Whereas we do something more current event, uh, or something that's maybe from around the world, or something that's very specific, like crime related worldwide, like an international issue. Because there was a couple things I found this week that were really interesting that I sent it to Cody, and you gave me the thumbs up. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you all. If I send you a text message and you give me the thumbs up thing, I know that's like the normal, like that's a good thing that you're like, yes, I see it. In my head, I'm like, I see. That's what I hear in my head, and I know that's not how it's meant, but that's where my brain goes first. So I'm like, so is this one of those? That's really good for someone like you, Matt. Good job. It'd be really funny if you could send back it with like a gold star stamped on it.
Maybe they need to come up with that.
Maybe
Just
they don't.
approve.
Maybe if you want to live to see your next birthday, you don't want to do that. But Cody, how is your? Well, I know how your weekend is kind of gone.
It's gone okay. It's gone
Yeah.
okay. It's just been a lot of stuff we're trying to get together and get situated out, and so it's been not stressful or anything necessarily, but certain things have to get done. We needed to get them done this weekend, and so it's all a process of making sure we don't forget anything and we get everything done that we want to get done. And so, thankfully, we were able to. I actually got up early this morning and we did errands and did everything, and so that was good. Saturday was good. Today was errand day, but Saturday was good. Starting off, we went to wine country like I had talked about on Friday, and we did a wine tasting. So it's the first wine tasting we've done since probably the fall of 2019 is probably the last time we did a tasting. So it's been quite a while, a year and a half that we didn't do any tastings. We did go up to pick wine up, but we never went in and did an actual tasting. So it was nice to do that and just sit out there. We sat. They have one of the wineries we went to has a really nice just seating area, and you just see the fields of grapes, and there's birds all around, and it's just beautiful nature, and you're just sitting there relaxing in the sun because it was kind of cool, and so being in the sun it kind of warmed you up, and it was nice just to have some wine and whatever. But then we were going to be heading back, and so it takes about an hour to get there, an hour back, which isn't bad, but going down, we had saw a fire on the side of the road, on one of the mountains or hills out here. I took video of it and I posted on my Twitter. And but when we were making our way back, it had spread to about 7 acres. They had it under control, but they had closed down the interstate, and so it had backed up traffic. So basically, the main interstate to get to Southern California, the farthest part, San Diego and everything, they had closed it down, and so it was all backed up. Then they finally opened it up to 2 lanes, and so 2 lanes of traffic when it's normally a 5 or 6 lane road backed things up a lot, and it took 4 hours to get home,
Ugh.
and it should have taken only an hour. Now, there was positives in it, and that we took a detour that no one else was taking, and it went through this whole area we didn't know existed, and these beautiful homes and areas that kind of almost look like Northern California with lots of trees and almost woodsy kind of
So
feel,
like a
which you don't
super
usually
scenic
get.
detour.
A super scenic detour that ended up was going to be faster than waiting in the 2 lane road.
Oh, and that sounds were you guys able to kind of keep moving the whole time?
Yeah, so once we got
That's
off the
nice.
interstate, and that was only a hard thing because there was a stoplight, because then it went 2 different ways, and so that was why we were having trouble getting off. But yeah, once we got off, it was just we never stopped. It was no cars around us at all. It was weird that it took us in this detour that no one else was taking, even though it was the fastest detour that you could take. But yeah, we never really had to stop, so that was nice. That's what kept it moving and stuff. And of course, very scenic, and so it was nice to kind of see different areas that we'd never seen before. But yeah, it was this should have only taken an hour. So it just adds on to that, because at a certain point you're like, you're planning to get home and you're planning to do this or that, and those plans were totally thrown out the windows. I hope you had wine in the car, time to open a bottle. uh, we ended up stopping, thankfully, at Starbucks before we left the area. And we did use the bathroom, because that would have ended up being pretty bad. So at least we knew something was happening before we ended up getting on the
Right.
road. We knew there was a
Yeah,
problem.
that would be not good. Well, I
Yeah.
got your text and we hadn't really talked because I slept almost all day Saturday. I talked to my stepdad, and then I was like, after that, I was just sort of like not angry, just kind of disgusted with my family more than usual. And I was like, well, that's the exciting conclusion. So, well, you all go yourselves. Have a blessed day. And I just went to sleep. I was playing a video game while David was working on school stuff. And then I was like, I think I need to just take a nap. Like, I think it's a good idea for me to disconnect from the world. So I slept the entire day, which actually sucks because Saturday is kind of one of my writing and prep days. Saturdays and Wednesdays, and I would say Saturdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays are like my biggest prep and write days for literally anything, topics, things I find, things I want to talk to Cody about, things I want to write about myself. Plus, and then nursing school requiring us to do some stuff right now. And then after that, I won't have anything to do till like August. So I'll be free for another 2 months. And oh, yeah, the fun thing is after my stepdad tells me this dumbass story, is he goes, oh, yeah, one more thing, by the way. And I was like, he goes, happy early birthday. And I'm like, bye. So the other crime this week is my birthday. So, the slaughter of my youth, apparently. And I'm like, it's fantastic. Yeah. I haven't been super active on Twitter or anything lately just because I've been kind of tired and not very, I guess, touchy feely, not so like my normal self. So I'm like, and then Saturday did not help. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I am done. I am done with the world today. These monsters.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
The short story, well, I'll record it more this week, but I did say on my main Twitter tonight that it was like, hey, log in and listen. The short story is basically my mom burned me at the stake and intentionally had said affair with my bio dad. And I have no sympathy for my stepdad because it was a very likely reaction to his many years of abuse at this point. Just how unfortunate to wind up with the kid. Yikes. But I was left a twist in the wind for years and years and years. And I did ask, I was like, so do you guys plan to apologize to me for calling me a liar for the last 3 years? He's like, well, I'm going to talk to your mom. I'm like, oh, wow, good. I'm glad it's a fucking question, you sack of shit. So, it's really nice to know that sometimes bags of shit become sentient and sometimes do take the form of your parents. Awesome. So keep that in mind, kids. Never be afraid to say no to toxic relatives. If you suspect they might be toxic, your intuition is probably right. Listen to yourself. So I am not angry. I just want to point out so much because I have not had a relationship with them since I was a kid. I mean, I'm decades past, like, I guess you'd say those kinds of feelings, but it's more like disgusted because I think that's a disgusting thing to do, to let your child burn at the stake and then willfully partake in it while knowing you were lying the entire time. And he was not. Now, I knew I wasn't lying. I'm used to similar behavior on varying scales. This is probably not even the biggest thing. This is just the most obnoxious that had the most legal ramifications in my life. But it's more so that, like, ugh, gross. So since I don't have a relationship with them, it's not like I'm going, oh, I'm deleting their numbers and I'm never speaking to them again. I don't have a relationship with them. We essentially let each other know when someone dies. And that's it. So, it's kind of like it was just the closing chapter. I will go. I'll repeat what I said earlier to Cody. I'll record it sometime this week with him. But I think we're gonna end up having to record Tuesday or Wednesday, so we can like pull our time back together. Because now I'm like a day and a half behind. Because although my feelings weren't hurt. I really needed to process because I was also afraid that my parents were going to go ahead and start calling me normally. Like, no, 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 no,
Mm-hmm.
no. They have not. They have not texted or called, and I don't think they're going to.
Yeah.
But you kind of never know with them. They're very unpredictable and very unstable, and emotionally, like, there's no emotional intelligence there. So there's not being angry is pointless. I might as well be angry at a kitchen table because that's all the good it's going to do. They're not. My mother's not mentally capable of understanding because of her own condition, and my stepdad is literally emotionally like not there. So he can't see beyond himself. So there's no point in being, there's no point in raging and being angry. And I learned how to deal with that as decades ago. But disgust is a different feeling. But when you know you're telling the truth, that's not necessarily a happy thought because, sometimes truth is painful, but
Yeah.
you're not lying. Because I'm a lot of things. I'm very disrespectful, and there's lots of things that I'm not respectful at all about. But I would never set out to destroy somebody's life by telling some kind of lie like this. Like, oh my gosh, that's horrifying. But I knew I wasn't, and I did expect the resistance, and I did expect to be called names. I didn't think they'd hold on to it for 3 years, but I'm only slightly surprised that it's still a question of whether or not you would apologize to me after and not just calling me a liar, writing about me on social media, telling all my aunts and uncles that I'm lying and I'm crazy and like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, you know. And my relatives don't believe me. And even if they do, they're not going to speak up on my behalf or say, maybe you should pull your lives together because you've been doing this to your child since he was able to walk. But now I'm old enough to defend myself. So I don't need them to fight my battles for me. But, sometimes it's okay when your relative's lying to you to tell them that they're lying and they should stop that. Your nieces and
Yeah, for
nephews will
sure.
probably appreciate it. Cody's like, what is wrong with your family? Like, what the hell?
Well, I mean, anybody who's been following along has known we've had multiple episodes that people can go back and check out.
Yeah.
But this was ultimately like when Matt texted me basically all of this. It was like, well, this is the conclusion of this whole built up
Right. I mean, the big thing was
storyline.
one of the things we were concerned about, to be honest, was that because of my mom's condition was this a voluntary situation? And that's what we were most concerned about. And that's been my biggest fear this whole time is that was my mom's massive resistance to me, some repressing some horrifying possible assault or something that maybe, because we don't know, I obviously wasn't there and nobody can tell us except for her and him. And, and I that was not, now my mom never indicated that it was, in no way. She just clammed up and called me a liar and said it's impossible, she doesn't know anybody named blah blah blah. And I was like, which was kind of my first inclination to believe that this was all, whether it was opportunistic or planned, whatever, that it was voluntary, because the way she typically when she lies, this is the way she usually lies when she knows what she did, because that's, your family, your parents. Like when they
Yeah.
tell lies to you, you're like, you just like your parents, like, I know when you're lying, bitch. I know when you're lying too. This is once you're an adult, it's a two-way street, um, but they don't care. See, that's the thing. They don't care about anything but themselves. So somebody's feelings, trajectories of their lives, the major decisions made because of them, they don't care. So my mom fessing up that it was voluntary and everything was, this was like best case scenario for that. And I will tell you, I will take this scenario over the other one any day of the week. So, that's the silver lining, is that I'm glad it wasn't worse. I'm glad it was this route and that it was consensual and it's what it was. So I'm like, wow, what a weekend. But I what I don't understand is how this came up now. I mean, 2.5 years later, they just what my
Yeah.
mom did she burst out at the kitchen table? You know,
Yeah.
okay, I banged
That
the
is
cute cop
interesting.
down the street.
Yeah.
What? Like, like how does that? I mean, I blurt out things at times, but that is not. Can you pass me the chips? Yeah, and I slept with a cop down the street. Like.
Keith says, exactly why chosen family is so valuable. I'm so much closer to my chosen family than to blood relatives. Yeah, that can be very true, I think, for a lot of people.
Well, my stepdad's favorite saying is blood is thicker than water. And when I reminded him that the saying is the blood of the coven is thicker than the water of the womb, he stopped saying it to me about 2 years ago. So he used that on me when I first brought this up. And I reminded him of what the full saying was. And I know he didn't get it. So I explained it to him, which he also did not appreciate. And he goes, I don't understand how this happened, blah, blah, blah. Your mom this and your mom that. And I was like, well, life finds a way. And he did not appreciate my Jurassic Park reference, damn it. Like, he did not think it was funny. My mom did not think it was funny. And I thought I was hilarious. Like, that is fucking gold. Like, in a moment like that, when are you in your life ever going to get to use that again? You're not. I'm
Very
not.
few opportunities.
Exactly. Very few opportunities, Cody. And it was just, I wasn't even trying to be funny. It just kind of came out of me. I was like, well, how the fuck else do you think it happened? Like, because he was trying to explain to me how it wasn't possible. And I was like, really? Are you sure? I'm like, maybe you should retake 9th grade biology. I'm call it a store, call it whatever the hell you want, whatever cute nursery rhyme you need to use. But I was
It
like,
was a stork.
it was a stork, a big flappy bird, you know. But in all of this, I think 3 or 4 different relatives insisted, like, "Are you sure you weren't switched at birth?" I'm like, y'all really want my stepdad to be my dad, but not my mom to be my mom, despite the fact that I look like my mother. And I was like, so you're telling me that some criminals broke into Lima, St. Rita's Medical Center and stole the special needs baby? Think about it. If you're a criminal and you're going to go steal a baby, are you going to take the one that has a hole in its face?
Yeah.
No, because it ain't going to live longer than a few days if you can't learn to feed it right. You're not. You're going to take the healthy baby. As far, the visually healthy baby. Like, do you hear yourselves? So, my own grandmother said that to me, the one that raised me. She was like, well, is it possible you were switched at birth? I'm like, my DNA matches to all my mom's relatives. So she
all of
switched at
that.
birth too. Like,
All of that is dumb though, because like I've seen the picture of you and your mom, and like,
oh yeah.
No, y'all are yes, you're related.
Oh
like,
yeah.
I don't think there's any doubt.
I'm
So
like,
it's like so
how
ridiculous.
even
All the other
like my mom
switched at birth but look alike.
There's this picture of her. Yeah. So every generation, some families breaking in and stealing like one person. I'm like, you fucking hear yourself?
But dang, you could have been a Lifetime movie then.
Oh my god, I literally look like my mom with my mom and I have the same faces at some points in my life, and we look like each other with different hair, in like the straight on view. Now, as I got older and my features have started to change, I have definitely taken on more of my bio dad's appearance than my mom's. But like you said, like, there's not really any I mean, how can you look at a picture of my mom? And not to mention, as I pointed out to my relatives, I'm like, my DNA test match all of my mom's relatives, and this other, I don't know any of these other names, and I started putting the tree together, and that's when it all started like falling into place. So that was fascinating, but it was really weird because we never liked nobody in my family likes my stepdad. None of my mom's brothers and sisters like my stepdad. In fact, there's plenty of stories of him getting his ass beat and or ran over. So when I brought all this up and first brought it up, and they were like, well, are you sure you weren't switched at birth? I'm like, Did someone unplug your oxygen tank? Like what? like, like I didn't know what to say because at first I thought they were kidding. Like, wow, like this is crazy.
Yeah.
No, they were literally trying to work out with me. And I was like, well, no, literally, I found a half sister that's related to, explaining. They're like, well, that's what she says. How do you know she's telling the truth? I'm like, that's your biggest question. And not that I independently took 2 different DNA tests. And then my stepdad then tries to tell me, and I'm having your sister, my stepsister, his daughter, DNA tested because, she, there's questions about that too. And I said, how? Both her and his sister and my stepsister took the same test and matched to each other
Yeah.
correctly. And he goes, oh, I forgot about that. I'm like, you should maybe take notes. You should like a little notepad and write down, like make a little cute little tree, like mama, papa, half papa,
He
step
needs a
papa.
whiteboard. He hasn't learned the whiteboard from you.
Oh my God, I know. Thank you, Katie Porter. Like, those whiteboards are everything. Ironically, I sat down. I'm writing book 2 right now as I'm finishing up the editing for book 1. And to keep the story straight, to make sure, I name the right people and do this and do that, I created like kind of mini family trees for like the 4 or 5 main cast members that I write most about, just to make sure I keep names straight or don't accidentally create a duplicate name and screw myself up. And I'm sitting there writing this and I'm like, man, I gave them a mom and a dad, or, as like a normal, quote unquote, normal family unit. And I'm like, is this like my inner feelings like breaking out onto this fake family tree paper? And I'm like, well, theirs look normal. They're gonna know who their mamas are. That's right, my little literary babies. You're gonna be fine.
It'll all work out.
Some of y'all won't make it to the end of book 4, but we'll at least know who to put on your headstone.
Drama.
Yeah, unfortunately, not everybody's gonna make it to the end, but
Spoiler.
we won't know who. Also, I'm in a tank top because after this, I'm going to the gym to go either biking, stairmastering, or running.
Oh.
Right? That's what I said. I'm like, oh, but both David and I have gotten now lectured from the doctor about everything. So we're like, okay, we will be good little boys and we will we'll go to the gym and we'll try to behave ourselves. Yeah, so we've gotten lectured. Yeah, it's unfortunate. I'm like, and it's not because of our weight or anything, our actual weight. This is not like a weight thing. It's just things that exercise can correct. So, and when we work out all the time, we tend to eat a lot better. So kind of like the self-correction thing. We're like, okay. You're just kind of like sitting there like, yeah, like, oh, well, I guess it's time to go back to the gym, guys.
I need to exercise some. We need to get back on our walks. We had been doing walks in the neighborhood for like 45 minutes an hour every day. So we need to get back on that. And I guess we could probably start going back to the gym soon. Still waiting it out here because some of the mandates and stuff are still in force in California. So,
well, your area
we'll
is very vaccinated, so
it is. I think we're like 60+%, which is very nice.
Yeah, I think we're at the point where I think people are just gonna not get vaccinated anymore. Here,
Texas needs to offer a lottery. In all the states that are offering lotteries, the numbers have just skyrocketed in people getting it. And I'm like, okay, you're going to get a shot, which is free regardless, because you might have a chance at winning a few $1,000,000. Okay, that's just some weird psychological mess that you got going there, that because you might win $1,000,000, you'll go ahead and get the shot. But you won't get the shot just for your health. Sure. but
Right.
whatever. So I'm all for all these states that have had lacking um, numbers to do whatever they need to do to get people to get the shot. Because if we look across the world, I should say, aside from New Zealand, there's not many bright spots as far as COVID, and so like everything that we're getting to do, honestly, shocking and surprising that we got here. Thankfully, we have, but I think I fear, for a lot of people who haven't got the vaccine and for people who have gotten the vaccine, because things are getting so much more back to like the regular normal, that everyone's going to fear it's over. It's literally not. It is destroying the world right now. Big variants in the UK. India is a disaster.
Yeah.
America
Here in
really is
San
the only.
Antonio, you would not even know. People are somewhat wearing their masks, but I'm seeing the mask mandates lift and more people just not wearing them. The only time I don't like specifically wearing my mask is when I'm biking because of just I sweat really hard.
Mm,
And
mhm.
I have I'm a mouth breather because of my cleft palate. And so it's not, but even then I usually will still leave it on the entire time. But sometimes it just,
Yeah.
it's more so because of sweat, not because I'm bothered wearing. I just don't want to make it gross, is
Yeah.
all. So I wash for a while when we were able to go to the gym from June. No, it's from August through November, I think. They had some like renovations or something, so I think it was shut down for a bit. But from August to November, I destroyed masks. Like I went through all my masks every single week because it was the only place we could go, but we were going late at night, so we were there by ourselves. And finally, people started going at midnight. And I think because people were trying to go be healthy, but also avoid people, it doesn't take a lot of people to make a gym busy. And at the
Hmm.
time, I really didn't want to run. I didn't. I just needed one weight bench for 40 minutes, and I'm done. But so did everybody else. And yeah, and so we just kind of fell off. And of course, once I went on meds, I was just done. I couldn't even work out. I couldn't even do it. And then we
Yeah, that
usually
was.
take a few weeks off around the holidays anyway, just to give ourselves a break from it. That's usually every now and then we'll take a full week or so off to completely like heal and reset, no matter what. Like every 6-7 weeks, we take no if we have it, we take a full 7 days, no matter what, away from exercise and just go about our normal day, just no gym. And then we pick it back up and yeah, the first day or two is a little like getting yourself moving again, but just to make sure that you don't accidentally overtrain yourself or um you don't want to overdo it. And I'm not competing with anybody, and it gets easier and easier to injure yourself the older you get. Yeah.
Oh, old age.
Yep.
I
Yep.
mean,
I'm like, I'm going into nursing school, I'm going to die.
ugh,
Yeah,
I don't
I'm
even
sure my
want to
first
think
week in
about
nursing school is gonna just be that first live. You're like, so how was school? And I'm like sobbing.
it. Doesn't matter. Are you okay?
I'm not
We'll,
okay, damn it.
we'll just have to be like, okay, Matt's gonna join us for 5 minutes. We're gonna check in, and then he's gonna
Like
have
go
to
cry or something.
keep. I don't know why that showed up. I had something show up on my screen,
Well, we have
but it
four
was like an
people, and
old.
thank you everybody for coming back. We're really sorry. We don't know what was going on. It started with Cody just having a few problems, and then it just escalated horribly. But since we came back, it does seem to work. So,
Yeah, it's a
um,
little slow. It's not pulling up here, but I did see Keith says, I'm fully vaccinated, but still wear my mask. It really pisses off the anti-vaxxers. That makes me smile. Yeah, I'm going to keep wearing my mask for a bit in different
I can't even
locations.
see that.
Yeah,
I
it's not
can't.
coming up for some reason. I think so. I think our program is having issues overall. That I almost pulled up the chosen family one a minute ago. So we can pull up stuff on the screen like you see when y'all leave comments. We can pull those up, but I didn't get that last comment. I only saw it because I have a live stream of YouTube on the side um, for our account. But yeah, I'm going to keep wearing my mask in different locations, and depending on how I feel. I'd rather be safe
Right.
than sorry. I do believe that the vaccines do work, but I think right now still I'm going to be a little bit wary in certain indoor situations where there's a lot of people, or like if I go to Disney, I'll wear a mask in line. I won't wear it when I'm just walking around, but so just a few certain areas, and that's not even necessarily just for COVID. I have to say, just for any kind of other sicknesses or illnesses. Like I don't want that because I always end up getting sick if I hadn't been to Disney in a while. I go to Disney and then I come back and I get sick for some reason because there's so many
I
people and
could
so many
never
germs.
understand why our country was never about, we didn't encourage people to wear masks when they were sick. Our healthcare providers wear masks when they enter a really sick patient's room. You know, at the, when I worked at the urgent care, when people came in, we literally had a sign. It was like, if you're coughing and blah, 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 we had surgical masks just sitting there. You could just grab one for yourself. And it just it also let other people know that they weren't feeling good and to keep a distance, you know.
Yeah,
And the whole thing of encouraging people to go to work when they were super sick, like
yeah,
when I went to work at a restaurant, my first job in college was at an Olive Garden as a host. About 3 weeks in, I got a little cold, and then it was hell for like a month. I just could not get better. And my manager, who was a front of house manager and a little bit only a few years older than me, was like, "Oh yeah, my first few months here, I was super super sick, literally 102 fever every day because you're interacting with people. It was a college town. It's Orlando. You're interacting with people from all over the world, and I wasn't from there, so it wasn't like I ever frequented any of these areas previously. So yeah, super great. So I was like, wow,
yeah.
okay, so why don't we wear masks here? So I'm actually fine wearing a mask places. And apparently I told a lady to get the fuck back earlier today. Um, yeah. So I was in Target at Starbucks, and I was the very last person. And then there was another space behind me, and this lady with her kid, who was probably like 8 or 9 or whatever, and she had a cart. She literally pulled up, so she was literally at my heels. Like if I turned to my right, I would have literally put my hand in her cart, like and
Mm-hmm.
touched. Like couldn't have been 2 inches from me. This goes on for like 15 minutes. So we moved up 3 or 4 spots, and um, David finishes getting what he's getting, and then comes to stand with me in lining. He's like, "What's up?" And I'm like, I've got my mask on, and I'm looking at him. And because I don't mind kids. Kids are going to be kids. It's whatever. Like I get that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But the adult here, her mother, did not have an excuse to stand on top of me. There was nobody behind her for a good 10 minutes. Nobody. And there's marked spaces. And finally I was like, I don't understand. I was like, this person has been standing on my heels for like 15 minutes. And I don't like people that close to me anyway, let alone like in friggin' Starbucks, and an empty Starbucks. Like there's nobody behind me, and her kid wasn't doing it. It was just the mom in her basket. And I'm like, and I didn't know how, I thought I was talking soft, but I guess my ears are a little clogged. So we get back in the car, and David's like, so he's like, you said that pretty loud. I'm like, oh, because I dropped the F-bomb too.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know why the fuck she's standing fucking close to me. And I didn't gesture anything. I was just standing there talking through my mask to him. Um,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah. So,
also, I don't think we need to be getting rid of this social distancing either. Like, you don't have to be right
oh
up
yeah, I
on
love people staying the hell
people.
away
Like,
from me.
come on. Like, that should just be common. Like, goodness.
Yeah, I love people staying the hell away from me. I will give you space. Please give me space. But people don't have any sense of that sometimes. And I get David's like, I didn't notice she stepped back at all. Um, at some point I noticed like her cart wasn't with her. So I thought maybe they left, got tired of waiting. And David's like, no, so I guess she left her cart on the outside of the banister area that separates Target from Starbucks. It's like one of those half banisters. And
Mm-hmm.
David said, no, she took 2 steps back. I'm like, oh, oh, well, I don't care. Not at all. Like,
She needs to be following the rules.
I didn't even care. It doesn't even, that is the first time that's happened. And since this all began, It's just that she was standing. I mean, she literally
Yeah.
could have reached over and put her hand in my pocket or read my phone. That's how close she was. Like, and there was nobody behind her. I mean, this is a
Yeah.
fairly empty space. Um, like crowded situations are totally different. You know, you're wrestling the kids. You don't care where you're standing. You're just trying to keep this kid from screaming or doing whatever kid thing they're gonna do. But that wasn't the situation. The kid was just kind of doing her normal thing, but the mom was just, I mean, like fucking on me. You would have thought she knew me or like was with me. That's how close she was to me the entire time. Like to the point I was starting to get like uncomfortable. I'm like, are you watching my phone or something? Like, because I was reading Twitter, which is a
Yeah.
huge mistake. Um, so maybe she was, because when I first opened it, somebody had posted a dick pic on Maine. I'm like, you guys, this is the Lord's Day.
She wanted to see that. She was
Maybe. I
excited. She
mean,
was like, "Oh, he knows what it's all about."
I mean, it was a nice one. Bravo. But like,
She's probably
speaking
jealous
of
of you.
genetics,
She was jealous, and then you went off, and she was like, okay.
right.
Maybe he
I
needs
don't know you
some.
that well. Um, you know, and I just
Oh
David
goodness.
was like, okay, I I really am not that big on. I'm not. It's the first time I've said anything, and I wasn't even talking directly to her, and I thought I was talking quieter. But David's like, no, you said it kind of loud, and it was also kind of loud in front of us because the two baristas, they were making a whole bunch of drinks, they were doing a whole bunch of shit, so it wasn't exactly quiet. It just was fairly empty. So it's just
Yeah,
echoey, the noises of like the ice and the machines, and it's still also a Target. The Target aspect of it was busy, but
yeah.
Starbucks just happened to not be super crazy.
Justin and
Um,
Gabe are always like, because I guess I comment on things a lot,
I
and
can see
you'll
that.
probably get to experience this.
Oh,
But
great.
I comment on things a lot, and Justin and Gabe are always like, "Quiet, or people can hear you." I think I'm quiet, but
Usually I am quiet. David
apparently,
mumbles. So, and of course with masks on, I can't read lips right now. So
yeah,
I kind of depend on being able to like know that you heard me. So I do have to speak a little louder, but I thought David could hear me because I was talking softer. And apparently, I guess I was talking over the noise, not thinking
yeah,
of the noise in front of me. And I'm normally never saying anything like that. I was H2 over it.
yeah,
And but don't stand to where you're basically reading over someone's shoulder. Like
yeah,
that's too close. That is literally too close. If you need something, oh my god, if you need the person in front of you to help you with something, just say something. Damn. Um
yeah.
she didn't even look. Well, now that I think about it, she didn't even look at me like at all because I was standing at pickup, and of course she was behind me because we waited there till the person in front of us got their drinks, and then we stepped over to their spot. And
Yeah.
she didn't look at me. I hope I didn't make her feel like bad, like because it's not a big deal. Like literally, just step back. But like I kept stepping away from her before this. I was kind of like inching away, and she would just move closer. Like, like so I don't feel
So
bad in
annoying.
that sense, but
Yeah.
like like your cart does not need to be almost in my ass, you know?
Yeah,
But
not so fun. Well, we have approached our hour. We wanted to start doing these about an hour. Next week, we
right.
are going to go earlier. We're going to do trial testing and see what y'all like. If y'all like that better, or if we get more people, maybe. Of course,
And if not, we'll go earlier because we can't really go back to later because Matt can't be going to the gym at midnight and 1 o'clock in the morning anymore.
so we will see all of you earlier next week. We'll let you know the exact time on Friday's show.
Yes.
Um, but it will be earlier for next Sunday. And so we thank all of you for joining us. We know the beginning of this show was a little
Sorry.
hectic. It, it seems like there's some issues with our system that we have no control over because we also are not getting all of our comments showing up on our main screens. But we do thank you for joining us. If you're watching this live replay, we thank you for finding this despite all the weirdness. And of course, coming up this week is Crime Week. Be sure and tune in for those episodes. Of course, if you've not seen the past episodes, be sure and check those out because we've had a lot of good ones and a lot of good topics that we've talked about. And of course, on Friday at 5 o'clock, our normal other live show. But I guess for that, we hope all of you have a great work week. And Keith just said, woohoo, was a fun show from this end. Again, it's not on the main screen, so Matt can't even see it.
Yeah, I have no idea what's happening.
So, yes, I'm glad, Keith, that it finally started all working out. Hopefully, Friday's show will go off flawlessly. We hope. We've never had an issue with the Friday show, so hopefully it will continue our run. But we hope all of you have a good work week, and we can't wait to see you again live on Friday. Anyway, I'm Cody. Bye, everybody.
I'm Matt. Have a good week.